What's up? What's up, Trey? Appreciate the invite.
Of course, this has been a long time coming. And like I said, with Caesar for the last few years, I've been out in community with you brothers, and we just clicked from the beginning. But I gotta say, you, Roger, like you came through with like with the spice. You were like, look, you actually, I think one of the first things I remember is one of your very first hoodies, and you said, just put your hand in the pocket. You said, put your hand in the pocket. And I'm like, oh, what is that? You're like, yeah, we got it lined. Feels like, so just tell me a bit about, before we get into how you brought your aesthetic to the design of mediums, you clearly have to have an eye for a lot of this. And I would love to hear a little bit more about your design eye.
Okay. Well, that was the quilted hoodie. So the quilted hoodie is one of the dopest pieces I feel like I ever made. Took me like about 8 years to design, or 8 months to design all that. But when it comes to design, I mean, take it a little bit back. It wasn't. I feel like I was never really into fashion like that. I wasn't like the fashionable guy. I wasn't like the best dressed. My intention wasn't to start a clothing brand. The clothing brand just kind of fell into my lap. I've always been creative since I was young. I've always loved the visual aesthetics of something, and I feel like I always had a swag, you know what I'm saying? But it was like super low key. I was never super loud about it. I've always been super subtle. I like subtle colors. I think the environment inspires that. The Northwest is very gray, blue, green. So when it came to fashion, I think in the details, it's just the kind of person that I am. I love details when it comes to my graphics, when it comes to my work. I look into details. It's like, okay, how can I put the best detail, but like not be loud? It's like my pieces, I like to be loud, but at the same time, how can I be loud but subtle? Right. So it's just something that I do with my work. And then, like I said, fashion just kind of fell in my lap. Right. It was in college. I was doing events. I got involved in fashion by design. I was doing graphics and stuff, and then I joined forces with one of my guys who had started a clothing brand, right? And then the clothing brand business and just the whole culture behind building the clothing brand was something that inspired me, because it had all the mediums that I wanted to practice, right? It had video, it had graphic design, it had culture, it had community. So clothes was just happening. I was just like, well, I'm gonna focus on clothes, right? And it started with graphics, and then when you go back into my catalog, my 2015 designs, when I started the brand, I had a lot of geometry in my designs, and even those designs were super simple. But if you really stared at those designs, they had a lot of intricate detail, right? So yeah,
it's grown from there, my friend. And I will say, yeah, the quilted hoodie, it's a gem. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I want several of those. What colors do you have? Like, and then I want the pants, and then I want to get my son to, like, I was just like, for me, there's something so special about supporting brands that are right here in our backyard. And as I was talking with Caesar, I mean, a lot of folks have really gravitated to y'all's designs. Tell us a bit about that, because you guys have been building relationships out here, partnerships, again, being out in community. Maybe it goes back to your college days, because you said your homie had the brand and you started with them. But I'm always seeing like a real crew kind of, even when it was just the two of y'all, it felt like there was a lot of energy and people that were really tapping in.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to my design and my clothes and my brand, and Mediums Collective in general, when I design based on how I'm feeling at the specific moment, right? So you look at my 2015 collection, right? It was very geometrical designs, but they had a meaning, right? I designed like an atom to represent manifestation, because I was really feeling like I wanted to create I wanted to turn ideas into something physical, right? When you look into my Unity design, right? I designed that during the protest time and during 2020, right? And that was just how I was feeling. It's like, okay, well, we as a community of color need to come together, right? And it's something that I just, sometimes designs come really easy to me because I'm feeling a certain way. Right? This new collection that I just dropped represents kind of like our move to the store, right? In 2023, and all the moves and just how I feel, how we've elevated from a pop-up brand to an official brand, and I feel like we've always been official, but with the move of the store, it just feels like I'm taking over Washington, right? So I designed like a Washington type of logo, right? So I feel like my designs have always had a deeper meaning. They've always been intentional. Um, and I think the realness, I think gravitates towards people and gravitates towards the design, right? I don't, um, when it comes to design, I design it for myself, but then I also think about others, right? Okay, how can I, when I pick the color, when I pick the style, when I pick the application, right? So, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I think that I resonated with because I'm like, yo, like, okay, you're the M, right?
yeah,
For me, it's so simple, yet
yeah,
that's what major logos and brands are made out of. So when you
right,
talk about kind of like, all right, I'm designing with these very specific aesthetics in mind, it really comes to light for
yeah,
everyone else, right? And so that's a beautiful thing to hear because yeah, I can tell how the designs are growing and maybe changing with the sign of the times, but yet it's still something that can draw people in, which is really I've been able to see as
yeah,
you guys as partnerships that y'all have been doing. I mean, you all found ways to just stay plugged in and to allow for the designs to speak for themselves, let them
yeah,
shine, right? But you guys have been doing fashion shows, you guys have been doing all kind of stuff. Tell us a bit about these events
right.
y'all have been doing to really get your names out there and really bring folks into the
Yeah,
brand.
100%. Well, I mean, like I said, Mediums Collective. I never, when we started, when me and my brother started, it was, I never had an intention of like, oh, we're gonna be in fashion, I'm gonna build a clothing brand. It was more a medium and an outlet for me to express, right? And as my brother explained in the first section, we've always been very community focused, very family focused. And I think we did that in a very natural and organic way. We love bringing people together, right? Bringing communities together. And I think I also, in college, I had experience doing events and stuff. So I had a little bit of experience, right? Kind of putting together an event. But when it came to the brand, I feel like it just kind of it brought meaning to the brand, right? Because for me, Mediums has always been about creative expression, right? That's why I named it Mediums. A lot of people ask me, hey, what does Mediums represent? For me, it was always like, okay, I just want to create it. For me, it was an outlet. It was a creative outlet. But at the same time, I also want to represent a community of creatives, right? It's like, okay, well, creatives, like it's art is powerful, and I feel like creatives in general get, stigmatized really negatively. And to me, I always wanted to be like, well, no, like that's how I've been able to elevate. That's why I'm here, you know what I'm saying? Because I've always been creative. I've always stepped outside the box and thought of innovative ways of how I can do something better, right? To me, that's being creative. So I always wanted to amplify that community. I've always been surrounded behind that community. So the events and everything that we did, right, is a reflection of my brand and what I'm trying to do in terms of like how can we amplify the creative community? How can we amplify our local and our backyard's creative community, right? Because there's so much talent in the city, there's so much art in the city that I just there was a need to be recognized. And the events was just a great medium to do so.
Yeah, yeah. I see it, man. I see the vision, and honestly, it makes a lot of sense because doing Mediums Collective as a fashion brand now takes all of that energy that you had around men. I need these other mediums to show my creativity,
Right.
and now it's like, oh, people that are in the. I see so many people in the creative space really gravitating towards it. But as I asked Caesar, there, I gotta ask
Yeah.
you. I mean, this brotherly perspective, this brotherly love coming
Yeah.
together, talk about unity. It starts with the two of you. Tell us a bit
100%.
about you guys' relationship and how you've been really able to establish it, not just as brothers, but now as business partners and
Yeah.
really take it to another level. Tell us your perspective on that.
I mean, my perspective, it's my brother. So I feel like, when it comes to family, I feel like, when for business, you have to be able to trust the people around you. And family, and my brother was someone I was able to trust, right? In the early stages, as he mentioned, it was a little hard because I'm the younger brother, but Mediums was like kind of my idea, my concept, right? I developed the concept behind Mediums, and it was kind of like a power structure. It's like, hey, like it's my idea, but then I feel like as we grew, right, and matured a little bit, and went through the years and hustled together and realized that, hey, my brother's there every step of the way. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't be able to do what I do and what we're able to do and build mediums to where it is now without my brother. You know what I'm saying? And without extra hands. So now as business partners, you know, I think it was realizing, hey, like we both play a role. You know what I mean? And I have a specific role based on the skills that I bring to the table, and my brother has a role based on the skills that he brings to the table. And I think now, you know, 8 years in the business, we understand that, and we understand, hey, like, okay, that's how we move and that's how we grow. You know, okay, what's the next game plan? I'm gonna tackle this, and you're gonna tackle this, and we're gonna have meetings in between, and it's gonna happen. Right now, I don't have to worry about not getting it done. Why? Because I trust my brother of getting it done. You know what I'm saying? Or I trust his vision in certain aspects of the brand and the business. And same as him, you know, it's like, oh, hey, we need new designs. You know, he can trust that I can deliver, right? Because that's kind of my area, my expertise, right? So I think it's a balance of communication. It's a balance of trust, and you know, I've been able to build a trust with my brothers. So
I love it. I
yeah.
love, and I gotta say, you did say, how we move, and clearly, as you can see, my sweatshirt here says "How we moving."
Let's go.
So I'm gonna be tapping with y'all because we see the Mediums Collective as another great, example of covenant principles, and you
Yeah.
guys really embody that. The two of you, that's really what this is about, and I love that. I got the Unity hoodie or
Come
the
on.
sweatshirt, the crew
Yeah.
neck, but I love the concept of unity, and it really embodies what we were just celebrating for Dr. King. And
Right.
it's like all of us together,
Right.
we are the ones that can really break down these barriers, and we need to do it in all realms, right? How do we support local fashion brands like yourself? So, of course, I got to give you time to look right there in the camera, man. How do people connect? I know he said it earlier, but we're going to keep this message alive today.
Yeah, I
Make
mean,
sure they know how to
same
tap
old, same
in.
old. You know, Mediums Collective, everything. Website, Instagram, social media. You know, now come to the store, 705 East Pike. You know what I mean? And then just like tap in person. You know, when it comes to chopping game and really wanted to build with us. You know, I think we're very collaborative. So if you guys have an idea, if you guys have a goal, if you guys think that we can work together, hey, look, we have a space in Capitol Hill and we can build. You know, so let's make it happen.
Let's make it
Yeah.
happen. Well, I'm so excited to see y'all out there continuing to build and grow, brother. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Trey.
Absolutely.